Have you ever, wondered why native English speakers sound like they are just effortlessly singing this smooth, continuous song?
Oh, yeah. The words just sort of melt together.
Right. They just flow into each other like water. But then when you try to speak, suddenly that same language feels, well, a bit robotic.
Like it's super choppy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Choppy. Like you're pulling out one word, placing it down, and then, reaching for the very next word, just word by word.
It's honestly, it's a completely universal frustration. Like anybody learning the language eventually hits this wall.
Oh, totally.
And the automatic assumption is always, I just need to talk faster. Like speed is the problem.
Right. Like if I can just physically move my mouth faster, I'll magically sound fluent.
Yeah, but speed is actually a trap. It really is.
It is a massive trap. And the secret isn't speaking faster at all. According to the linguistics team at Simple English Talks, who put together this really brilliant guide called The Secret Rhythm of English, Mastering Weak Forms, the secret is something entirely different.
Thank goodness, because talking faster just leads to pure panic for most people.
Seriously. So for today's deep dive, we're going to use their research to, basically completely re-engineer the way you speak.
I love it.
We're going to unpack exactly why rhythm is the actual key to fluency, what these weak forms are, and how learning to intentionally shrink certain words will make your English sound natural and musical.
Which is such a relief to hear. But before we get to the actual words you need to shrink, we really have to look at the machinery of the language itself,
Right.
We have to understand why native speakers sound like they're singing in the first place.
Okay, let's unpack this, because if you look at a language like, say, Spanish or French or Japanese, they operate on what linguists call a syllable-timed rhythm.
Right. Think of it kind of like a machine gun. Ta-ta-ta-ta.
Oh, it's a good analogy.
Yeah, every single syllable gets the exact same amount of time. The same microsecond of, dedication from the speaker. It's perfectly even.
But English doesn't do that at all, right? Like, English is a stress-timed language.
Exactly. It operates much more like Morse code.
Dum-da-dum-da-da-dee.
Yes. And this right here is the massive aha moment for so many learners. Because if you are applying a machine gun rhythm to a Morse code language,
It's just going to sound broken.
totally broken. No matter how perfectly you pronounce the individual vowels, it just won't sound right.
That is the core of the issue, isn't it? You cannot give every word equal time in English. To create that Morse code rhythm, you basically have to create mountains and valleys.
I really love that visual from the guys. Think of your content words as the mountains.
The big ones.
Yeah, the nouns, your verbs, adjectives, words like coffee, running, beautiful, they carry the actual meaning of your sentence, so they stand tall. You actually spend time on them.
But a mountain range isn't just peaks.
Right. You have to have the valleys in between. And in English, the valleys are the function words.
So the little connecting grammatical pieces.
Exactly. Words like and, to, for, of.
And the rhythm of English is literally this constant journey of, jumping from peak to peak, dropping down into the valleys in between.
Yeah, imagine you're playing the piano, right? If you played every single note in a piece of music at the exact same volume for the exact same length of time, it wouldn't be a melody.
It would just be a wall of noise.
Just noise. And when you use an equal stress syllable-timed rhythm in English, you are giving the native ear a wall of noise.
Wow. So they actually struggle to understand you? Not because your pronunciation of the word coffee is bad?
Right, but because they literally can't find the melody.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second, though.
Go for it.
Because if I'm listening to this right now, I'm probably thinking, wait, you're telling me I should shrink perfectly good words? Take a word and reduce it to just an N sound. So bread and butter becomes bread and butter. Isn't that just, lazy? If I do that, aren't native speakers going to think my grammar is terrible?
Yeah. What's fascinating here is that we've been conditioned to believe that full pronunciation equals correct English, right?
Right, like we're caught in school.
Exactly. But shrinking these function words using what linguists call weak forms is actually standard, correct, natural pronunciation.
It isn't slang.
No, it isn't slang. It's not lazy. It is the invisible glue that makes the language work.
Wow. In fact, if you try to be an overachiever and use the strong, fully pronounced versions of every single word in a casual conversation, it doesn't make you sound smarter, does it?
No, it makes you sound weirdly formal.
You sound like you're standing in a courtroom, reading a highly sensitive legal document out loud. instead of just grabbing a coffee with a friend.
Yeah, you're over-enunciating. You're forcing the native speaker to climb a mountain for a word like of, which just exhausts them. They just want the coffee.
They just want the coffee. So, okay, if the rule is that we absolutely must create these valleys to sound natural, let's look at the actual word.
Let's do it.
Because there are hundreds of function words in English, but the source material highlights the essential daily dozen.
The heavy lifters.
Right, the words doing the heavy lifting in almost every single sentence you speak. But instead of just listing them out like a dictionary, let's group them by what your mouth is physically doing.
That's a good idea. Let's start with the prepositions. Words like to, for, at, and from.
Okay.
These are directional words, and our mouths are incredibly lazy with them.
Take the word toe, for example. Fully pronounced, it's to.
With that hard oo sound.
Right. But in the wild, the lips barely move. The vowel completely collapses into something called a schwa. It's just a tiny, lazy grunt like the. So, to becomes toe.
Or even just a sharp little T sound.
Yeah. If I say, I need to talk to you, and I pronounce every vowel, my mouth is working so hard.
Too hard.
But natural English is, I need to talk to you.
Notice how much less physical energy that takes. Your tongue barely even taps the roof of your mouth.
Yeah, it's so fast.
The exact same thing happens with for. You aren't waiting 4 hours with a hard round or sound. The lips just completely relax. It becomes f. You're waiting 4 hours.
And that becomes like, I'll see you at the office. And from drops that round O and becomes from. Where are you from? It's all about finding the absolute path of least resistance for your jaw.
It really is. Then we have the connectors and articles, right? Words like and, of, that, and then.
Oh, and is a great example. A and D. But in a normal sentence, the A and the D just like evaporate.
If you're gone.
It's just an N or an us sound.
Coffee and toast.
Yeah, and look at uff. The strong form is OV, but the weak form shrinks down to, or sometimes just a tiny V sound. A cup of coffee becomes a cup of coffee.
Oh, wait. That makes so much sense. I always thought the British slang cuppa, like, fancy a cuppa, was just a completely invented word.
A lot of people think that.
But it's literally just the phonetic spelling of the weak form. It's cup of, written exactly as the mouth naturally says it. Exactly. It perfectly illustrates how native speakers hear their own language. They don't hear of, they literally hear
That's amazing.
Now, the article the has a tiny physical rule attached to it. It usually becomes a lazy th, like past the salt.
Right.
But if the very next word starts with a vowel, your mouth actually needs a tiny bit of energy to bridge the gap.
Oh, right. So you don't say the apple. That feels really weird in the throat.
Yeah, you get that weird catch.
You say the apple. It keeps its strength just to prevent a collision.
Spot on. And finally, we have the auxiliary verbs, the helper words, can, was, were, and have.
Try saying the word can without using a vowel. Just jump your tongue straight from the C to the N.
Can.
Yeah, KN. I can do that. The vowel practically ceases to exist.
And was becomes was. She was really happy.
Right.
Completely drops its hard R and becomes a soft woo.
They were amazing.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's look at the word have.
When have operates as a helper verb and shrinks into its weak form, it loses the H completely. It turns into UV. So I should have becomes I should have.
Which raises such an important question about the connection between sound and spelling, because should have sounds absolutely identical to the weak form of the word of.
Wait, is this why people constantly write should have in comments and emails?
Yes.
I used to look at that and think, how do you even make that grammar mistake? But it's not a grammar mistake at all. It's an auditory illusion.
Exactly. The brain just reaches for the word that matches the sound. People grow up hearing the weak form thousands of times, so when they type, they just type the sound.
That is wild.
It proves how deeply embedded the Morse code rhythm is. Native speakers are using weak forms so automatically that they don't even know what words they are actually saying.
Okay, but this brings up a really crucial reality check.
What's that?
We're talking about shrinking these words like they exist in little individual bubbles.
Right.
Like to becomes pus. But in a real conversation, out in the wild, words don't just shrink. They violently crash into each other.
They do. And this introduces the concept of connected speech. Weak forms don't just operate alone. To maintain that flowing rhythm we've been talking about, the physical boundaries between words have to dissolve.
It's all connected.
Yeah. There are 3 mechanical processes happening in your mouth when you listen to native English: linking, elision, and assimilation.
Let's look at the anatomy of these because it really explains the why behind the weirdness of spoken English.
Okay, yeah.
So the first one is linking. This is when the final sound of one word basically reaches over and grabs the first sound of the next word.
So they stick together.
Right. So turn it off doesn't have pauses. It becomes turn it off.
And pick it up becomes pee-pee top.
Exactly. Your mouth does this because stopping airflow to start a completely new word takes energy.
And linking keeps the air flowing smoothly.
But the second mechanism, elision, is even more extreme. This is when sounds don't just link. They are completely evicted from the sentence.
Just gone.
The classic example is the T at the end of a word. Think about the physical movement required to say last night with a hard T.
You have to stop everything.
Yeah. The tip of your tongue has to hit the roof of your mouth right behind your top teeth. You have to build up air pressure, pop the T, and then immediately put your tongue right back up into almost the exact same position for the N in night.
It's a microscopic traffic jam in your mouth. It takes way too many milliseconds. So the brain, optimizing for the rhythm, just fires the T entirely.
Just gets rid of it.
Yeah. Last night becomes last night. Next please becomes next please. Most people becomes most people.
It's literally a survival mechanism. Like if you actually tried to enunciate most people with a hard T in the middle of a fast sentence, you'd bite your own tongue.
You really would. And then the third mechanism, assimilation, happens when sounds can't link and they can't just disappear. So they just smash together and mutate into a brand new sound.
Oh, think about the phrase, did you? The D is a hard stop. The Y in U is a glide. When they crash into each other at high speed, the friction creates a J sound. Did ya? Did you see that?
Same with would you. It becomes would ya.
Would a wind. It's okay.
Yeah.
To really feel the difference this all makes, let's run a live experiment right now.
Okay, I'm ready.
Let's take a standard sentence and read it with a syllable-timed rhythm. We will make every single word a mountain. No weak forms, no connected speech.
All right, let's hear the robot.
Okay, here we go.
I want to go to the shop and get some bread and butter for the kids.
Oh, wow. It's completely exhausting to listen to.
Isn't it?
Yeah, the important information, the shop, the bread, the kids, is just buried under the sheer volume of all the prepositions.
It felt exhausting to say. My jaw hurts just thinking about it. Okay, now let me try to apply the weak forms, the linking, and the elision. Let me try to find the melody.
Go for it.
I want to go to the shop and get some braudi and butter for the kids.
Oh, hold on. You went a little too far into the valley there. You flattened the mountain.
Oh, wait. I shrunk bread into bread. You did. And if you weaken a content word, the listener has no idea what you're trying to buy at the shop.
That makes sense.
The content words have to stay strong.
Okay, let me try again. Valley's low, mountain's high. Want to go to Liz, shop in, get some bread. Butter for the kids.
There it is. That's the one. The functional glue N shrank away into almost nothing, which allowed the actual message to punch through.
That feels so much better. But if I'm listening right now and I'm realizing my English sounds like my first robotic attempt, how do I actually practice this?
Right, that's the big question.
Because trying to mentally calculate 12-week forms, drop my T's and merge my D's and Y's, while also trying to figure out what I want to actually say in real time feels totally impossible.
It is impossible to do mathematically in your head. You really have to feel it. The most actionable way to start is by confronting your own voice.
Ooh, people don't like doing that.
I know, but take your phone, pick a sentence, and record yourself reading it normally. Then actively try to push the prepositions and connectors down, like mumble them, slur them together, record it again, and listen back.
So you have to train your ear to recognize the Morse code rhythm coming out of your own mouth.
Exactly. I know a lot of people hate listening to their own voice, but it's really the only way to know what you actually sound like versus what you think you sound like.
That's huge. And you can take that a step further with a technique called shadowing, right?
Yes, shadowing is incredible. Put on a video, a movie scene with a native speaker, or an audio clip. Put on headphones and speak out loud along with them at the exact same speed.
And the key here is don't worry about the grammar. Don't worry if you miss a word completely. Just mimic the music.
Mimic the drops in volume. If they mumble, you mumble.
You are physically training your jaw and your tongue to understand what a weak form feels like.
Yeah, it's building muscle memory. Once the muscles know the rhythm, your brain doesn't have to calculate it anymore. It just happens.
But armed with all this knowledge, we do need to map out the minefield because learners tend to fall into 4 very specific traps when trying to master this rhythm. And sometimes they stay stuck in them for years.
Oh yeah, these pitfalls are huge. The first mistake is the one we've been tackling all along. pronouncing every word fully in casual conversation.
Right.
But we need to understand why learners actually do this. It's a direct result of classroom conditioning.
Think of classroom English like a map. It's safe. It's clear. Every boundary is perfectly drawn. The teacher speaks slowly, and the audio clips are pristine.
They're perfect.
But natural conversational English is the territory. A map is brilliant for learning the rules of grammar, but you can't live on a piece of paper. You have to step out into the dirt and the mud of the territory.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is precisely why a student can score 100% on a listening exam, but then totally freeze in a coffee shop.
Yes.
Because the exam audio said, "Can you tell me where the bathroom is?"
With every word perfectly clear.
Right. But the barista says, "Can you tell me where the bathroom is?" If you expect the territory to look exactly like the map, you're going to be totally lost. You just have to embrace the messy reality of connected speech.
Which leads right into mistake number 2, which, honestly, I actually demonstrated perfectly a minute ago. Weakening the wrong words.
Yes, the bread incident.
The bread incident. Once you discover weak forms, it's really easy to get over-enthusiastic and just start mumbling everything.
It is, but the golden rule is valleys go low, mountains stay high, never the other way around.
So if you shrink your nouns or verbs, communication breaks down entirely.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how beautifully you linked cup and of if the listener didn't hear the word coffee.
Exactly. And mistake number 3 is something we touched on with the should of phenomenon, but it's critical for anyone writing professional emails. Do not write weak forms as they sound.
Right. Weak forms are auditory tools. They are the mechanics of the mouth. But when you switch to a keyboard, you are back in the formal rules of the map.
So if you write wanna or gonna or should have in a cover letter, you aren't showing off your mastery of natural rhythm.
No, you're definitely not.
You're just breaking the spelling rules. Keep the weak forms in your mouth, not on the page.
Very true. And the final pitfall, number 4, practicing weak forms in isolated words.
It's so tempting to just sit there and say, to.
Yeah.
To practice the word to.
It is, but a weak form has zero meaning on its own. Its entire affectionary purpose is to be the glue between other words.
Right. Practicing the glue without the pieces of wood you're trying to stick together doesn't build anything.
You have to practice them locked inside full phrases so your mouth actually feels the transition from mountain to valley to mountain.
So what does this all mean? If we zoom all the way out, the core takeaway for you today is incredibly liberating. Let go of the panic of speed.
Fluency isn't about rushing until you're breathless.
True fluency is rhythmic contrast. You aren't trying to achieve perfect clarity on every syllable. You are intentionally obscuring the function words so the important words can shine.
By letting those little connectors shrink and blur together, your actual message punches through with so much more power.
You stop sounding like a robot, and you start sounding like the music of the language.
It changes the entire goal of pronunciation practice from, perfection to flow.
Exactly, flow. But all of this leaves me with one final, slightly provocative thought to leave you with.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Well, we've established that natural English relies entirely on dropping letters, blending sounds, and mutating vowels just to function at conversational speed, right?
Right.
Our mouths have literally re-engineered the language for efficiency over hundreds of years. But our spelling system is still incredibly rigid.
Oh, yeah. It reflects how words sounded centuries ago.
Exactly. The written map is very, very old.
Right.
So as time goes on, will our formal spelling system eventually be forced to evolve?
That's a fascinating question.
Will the dictionaries of the future officially recognize should've and koan and dija because that's how humans actually speak the territory? Or will the written map forever be this robotic historical artifact that is completely out of sync with the singing reality of spoken English?
Wow. It makes you wonder if the English we write is even the same language as the English we speak anymore.
So it's a brilliant paradox, isn't it? The more perfectly you read the written word, the less natural you sound to the human ear.
So true.
Something to mull over the next time you catch yourself reading word by word. Stop staring at the map and start exploring the territory. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.